On this problem, it's going to break up as the square root of 4 and the square root of 3. So that's 4 times 2 square root of 3, which is b. This one breaks up as square root of 4 square root of 2, which is 9 times 2. That would be 18 square root of 2. On this one, it breaks up as square root of 4 square root of 5, which is 6 times 2 square root of 5, and that would be b. This one breaks up as square root of 4 square root of 6. 3 times 2 square root of 6 is d. Pick a number from 1 to 20. The winning numbers today are 2, 8, 11, 14, and 16. Bring the homework up here. You must have all 15 finished to get credit. We have 3 out of 12, which would be 25%. Here are the answers for the homework. Number 1 is 6 plus square root of 6 minus 3 square root of 2 over 3. And number 2 is 6 minus 2 square root of 6 minus 6 square root of 2 plus 12 square root of 3. And 3 is 20 plus 8 square root of 3 plus 5 square root of 2 plus 2 square root of 6 over 13. Number 4, there's a small problem with this one. Notice that up here you have 12 square root of 3 and 4 square root of 3, and there's a minus sign. If you have 12 of these and then 4 of them, you're taking 4 away, you're going to have 8 left, but it should be a positive 8. So there's a plus sign there. And when you cut them in half, the plus sign still stays. So the final answer is 9 plus 4 square root of 3 over 2. And then on number 5, it's 90 minus 20 square root of 6 plus 20 square root of, or 27 square root of 3 minus 18 square root of 2 over 27. Number 6 is 6 plus 4 square root of 2 minus 3 square root of 10 minus 4 square root of 5. And 7 is 3 plus 2 square root of 2 plus 3 square root of 6 plus 4 square root of 3. On number 8, it's 36 plus 9 square root of 5 plus 8 square root of 3 plus 2 square root of 15 over 22. And 9 is 28 minus 7 square root of 2 plus 8 square root of 3 minus 2 square root of 6 over 42. On number 10, should be 6 plus 3 square root of 3 plus 2 square root of 6 plus 3 square root of 2. And on number 11, there's a small problem here. When we cut these down in half, it should stay there. You can't go in half again, as I did. I made a mistake. And then with the negative sign on the bottom, it should be a negative 4 minus 4 square root of 2 minus square root of 3 minus square root of 6 over a positive 2. Number 12 should be 12 plus 3 square root of 2 plus 2 square root of 6 plus square root of 3 over 14. And the last 3 here should be 30 minus 5 square root of 3 minus 6 square root of 2 plus square root of 6 over 33. And 14 is 55 plus 11 square root of 5 minus 5 square root of 6 minus square root of 30 over 20. And 15 is 36 plus 4 square root of 6 plus 9 square root of 2 plus 2 square root of 3. The objective today is to simplify radical expressions. Example 1. In this problem, your first movement is to look at the square root of 2 and square root of 3. If they're simplified, you don't have to do anything more to them. But now to solve the problem, or actually to simplify it, you have to multiply the top and the bottom by this expression here on the bottom, except use a different sign. So it's 4 plus 3 square root of 3, top and bottom. And then go through and multiply on the top. When you do, that's going to turn out to be 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12. And then 3 times 3 square root of 3. You multiply the 3 by the outside 3 and come up with 9. Keep the square root of 3. Now go to this term. 2 square root of 2 times 4. You multiply this 2 by that 4 to get 8 and keep the square root of 2. Multiply these two together here. Concentrate on the numbers outside first. 2 times 3 is going to be 6. And then square root of 2 times square root of 3 is square root of 6. That just tags along. Now the bottom part that people need help with, you square this. Square that to get 16. Square this entire term. And when you square that term, you end up with this outside number squared, which is 9, and then the square root is squared. It's just the number under the sign, 3. 9 times 3, that's 27. 16 minus 27 is 11. And that's what goes on the bottom. Now once you get to this point, look at the square root of 3, 2, and 6. Here, here, and here. They can't be simplified anymore, so leave them alone. Look at the 12, 9, 8, 6, and 11. There's no number that comes out of all 5 of them other than 1. So you can't do anything there. But you have this negative sign. The way you get rid of it is to change the sign of everything in the problem, including the bottom. So it becomes positive on the bottom, and that's what we wanted. Here's some practice on the denominator work. If I had 4 square root of 3, and I had to square that, what I would do first is square the 4 to get 16. And then I would square this. And it's just the number under the square root sign. So that would be 48. You never multiply this number by the number underneath the square root sign to start with. Example 2. Look at your square roots. They are 6 and 3. They're already simplified, so you don't have to touch that. So multiply the top and the bottom by 2 minus 3 square root of 3, because it's the same quantity as that except for the sign. On the top, when you multiply, it's 8 times 2 to start with. So that's 16. 8 times 3 square root of 3. You multiply the 8 by the 3 on the outside to get 24. And the sign is minus because this is plus and that's minus. Opposite signs mean minus. And then the square root of 3 just stays along. Now this one, you're done with the 8. Go to this one and multiply it by 2. That's the 3 on the outside times the 2 is 6. The square root of 6 just stays along. And then this term times 3 square root of 3, notice that it's a minus, so it's got to be minus on the end because the signs were plus and minus. Opposite signs are minus. Multiply 3 by 3 first, the outside numbers. Come up with 9. And then square root of 6 times square root of 3 is square root of 18. Now on the bottom, you have to square 2 to get 4 and square this term. That means you square the outside 3 to get 9. Square root of 3 squared is just that number under the sign, 3. So 4 minus 27 would be a negative 23 on the bottom. Now, go back here and look at 3, 6, and 18 under the square root signs. These are okay, but that 18 can be simplified. So that's really 9 square root of 9 square root of 2. 9 is the highest perfect square that goes into 18, and you have to multiply it by square root of 2 to get the 18. Square root of 9 is 3, so that would be 27 square root of 3. Cancel this out and make it 27 square root of 3. Now look at this. 16, 24, 6, 27, and negative 23. There's nothing that comes out of all three of them but 1, so you can't do that. But you have to get rid of the negative sign. So change the sign of everything in the problem, top and bottom. And this will be your final answer. If I had 8 square root of 12, and I know that the square root of 12 can break up, then I keep the 8 and I break up the square root of 12 into 2 square roots. The highest perfect square that comes out of 12 is 4. And what do you multiply 4 by to get 12? 3. The square root of 4 is 2. So 8 times 2 is 16. 16 square root of 3 would be the answer. Here's another one just like that. 20 square root of 32. The 20 stays, but that 32 can be broken up as 16 and 2. And the square root of 16 is 4. So that would be 20 times 4, which is 80, square root of 2. On the practice problem, the 2 and the 6 under the square root signs are already simplified, so all we need to do is multiply the top and the bottom by 3 plus 2 square root of 6. When we do that on the top, we come out with 12 plus 8 square root of 6 minus 15 square root of 2 minus 10 square root of 6, poorly drawn 6. And then on the bottom, we'll have 9 minus 4 times 6. That's 9 minus 24. That would be a negative 15. Okay, so let's check some stuff here. We have 6, 2, and on the back end there, that's strange. That should be 10 times, the square root of 12. Yeah, that should be 10 times the square root of 12. I wrote that wrongly there. So since that is a 12, it can be broken up. So we would have 10 square root of 4 square root of 3. And that would actually turn out to be 20 square root of 3. So we can substitute that in here. Now we have 6, 2, 3. Those can't be simplified. And on the constants, 12, 8, 15, 10, and 15. You can't take a number out of all of those. But what you have to do next is to change the sign of everything, since you have a negative sign here. So it should be negative 12 minus 8 square root of 6 plus 15 square root of 2 plus 20 square root of 3 over 15. On this bonus problem, it breaks up as 9 and 2. So that should be 4 times 3 square root of 2, which is 12 square root of 2. This breaks up as square root of 4 square root of 6. Square root of 4 is 2. So that should be 24 square root of 6. Bonus. On this bonus problem, it breaks up as 16 square root of 2. 16 is the highest perfect square that goes into 32. The square root of 16 is 4. And so that would be 64 square root of 2. On the bonus, 4 is the highest perfect square that comes out of 28, so it's got to be 4 and 7. The square root of 4 is 2. So that would be 4 square root of 7. On the practice problem, you have two choices. One is to go ahead and multiply by the quantity, except for the sign, of what's here on the bottom. Or you simplify this first and save yourself some trouble later. So if I simplify this first, on top it's going to stay the same. On the bottom, this is going to have to be simplified. We'll still have 4 minus, but that 8 breaks up as 4 and 2. And of course the 5 is still there. Square root of 4 is 2 times 5 is 10, and you keep the square root of 2. On this one, now we have to multiply top and bottom by 4 plus 10 square root of 2. And when we do that on the top, we end up with 4 plus 10 square root of 2. And then we also get plus 8 square root of 2. And then plus 20 times 2 is 40. Because you have this times this, which is 2. And then 2 times 10. There and there is 20. So 20 times 2 is 40. On the bottom, you get, square this, 16 minus 25. Well, we're not doing that side. I'm doing this one. 16 is right. But square this to get 100. And then you multiply by that squared, 2. You end up with 200. That's a negative 184 on the bottom. All right, on the top, you can simplify some stuff. You have 4 and 40. That's 44. And then you have 10 square root of 2's and 8 square root of 2's. If you add them together, you have 18 square root of 2. And then on the bottom, you still have a negative 184. Notice that you have even numbers there, there, and there. So you can cut them all in half, as well as that negative sign. It's got to change the sign of everything. So that would be a negative 22 minus 9 square root of 2 over 92. If I had 3 square root of 2 plus 5 square root of 2, if you had left an answer like that, I would have given you credit for the first time through, but from now on, treat this like a variable. If you have 3 of these and 5 of these, you have 8 altogether. So if they're of the same square root, you can add and subtract them when necessary.